Gen Z isn't rude. You just don't speak their language. You probably heard it before, maybe you've even said it yourself. Young people today have no respect. Or maybe you're on the other side of that conversation thinking, I wasn't being rude. I just communicate differently. Here's the thing, both of you are right, and both of you are missing something. Today on Gen Sync TV, we're diving into one of the biggest myths about Gen Z, that they're rude, dismissive, or just don't care. Because what looks like rudeness from the outside is often something else entirely. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. What rude actually looks like and why it's misread. Let's start with the behaviors that tend to get Gen Z labeled as rude. They don't always make eye contact, they give short answers, they're on their phones. Sometimes mid-conversation, they skip small talk, they don't always say yes sir or no ma'am. They'll leave a voice message on read and reply 3 days later with a meme. To someone raised in a world where eye contact meant respect and a firm handshake opened doors, this can feel like a slap in the face. But here's what's actually happening. Gen Z grew up in a world that was always on, always loud, always demanding their attention, so they learned to manage their energy differently. Short answers aren't dismissiveness, they're efficiency. Headphones aren't a wall, they're a coping tool in an overstimulating world. Skipping small talk isn't coldness, it's a preference for authenticity over performance. They're not trying to be rude, they're just operating on a different set of social software. The language gap nobody talks about. Every generation develops its own communication style. That's not new. What is new is how fast communication itself has changed. Baby boomers and Gen X largely learned to communicate in person first. Phone calls, face-to-face meetings, formal letters. Respect was shown through formality, showing up early using proper titles. Millennials bridged the gap, comfortable with both email and text, formal and casual. Gen Z? They learned to communicate in a world of DMs, memes, voice notes, and TikTok comments. Their language is visual, fast, layered with irony, and deeply communal. When a Gen Z person sends you a meme instead of a paragraph, that's not laziness, that's intimacy. That's them saying, this reminded me of you. When they say no cap or it's giving, they're not being careless with language. They're using a living, evolving dialect that bonds their generation together, the same way slang has always done. The gap isn't about respect, it's about translation, what Gen Z actually values. Here's what might surprise you about Gen Z. They care deeply about fairness, honesty, and community. Study after study shows Gen Z is one of the most socially aware generations in history. They're more likely to speak up about injustice, more likely to support causes they believe in, and more likely to call out hypocrisy, even when it's uncomfortable. What they resist is performance, fake politeness, saying the right thing while doing the wrong thing. So when an older authority figure demands respect simply because of their title or age, without demonstrating respect in return, Gen Z doesn't go along with it, not because they don't believe in respect, because they believe respect should go both ways. That's not rudeness. That's a different and honestly pretty mature understanding of what respect actually means, what both sides can do. So where does that leave us? If you're an older generation looking at Gen Z and feeling frustrated, try this. Next time a young person gives you a short answer, don't assume dismissal. Ask a follow-up question. Create space for the kind of conversation they're actually comfortable having. You might be surprised what comes out, and if you're Gen Z watching this, your communication style is valid. And it's also worth knowing that not everyone has your context. Sometimes a little translation goes a long way. A thanks so much instead of a thumbs up emoji can open a door that might otherwise stay closed. The goal isn't for one generation to change who they are. The goal is for both sides to extend a little curiosity before jumping to judgment, because the truth is Gen Z isn't rude. They're fluent in a language a lot of us haven't learned yet. And the good news, languages can be learned at any age. That's what Gen Sync TV is all about. Not picking sides, not pointing fingers, just honest conversations that help us understand each other a little better, one generation at a time. If this video made you think, or if it reminded you of someone in your life, share it with them. That's how the conversation grows. Don't forget to subscribe to Gen Sync TV and drop a comment below. I want to know, what's one thing you wish the generation before or after you understood about you? I'll see you in the next one.